Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth, the Education Coordinator for Marlene's Market and Deli. We thank you for tuning in here on Facebook and also all of y'all that are here with us via Zoom to interact with our wonderful presenter. She is one of the wonderful doctors at Federal Way Naturopathy Clinic, Adrienne of Wilen. Yay, Dr. Wilen.
Hello, thank you for the wonderful introduction. I am Dr. Adrienne Wilen. I am one of the physicians over at Federal Way Naturopathy. I work with patients of all ages, all conditions, but I personally have special interests in dermatology as well as gastrointestinal health. Two very common concerns that I see really often in practice. So that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on today. So topic today is acne. Most adults have had acne at some point in their life, either as a teenager or continuing on into their adult life. And we always kind of think about, okay, skin hygiene, what's going on with our face, what's going on with our skin, and not so much the underlying things that can contribute to it, like gut health. So acne, super common. We all have our usual toolkit of face washes and zit creams. Some people go for antibiotics, but sometimes the hygiene alone just doesn't cut it. So acne is multifactorial. It involves excess sebum production. So we've got the oily skin, follicular hyperkeratinization. So too many skin cells. And too many skin cells can block your pores, causing inflammation. And that inflammation allows for opportunistic bacteria that feed on the excess sebum to grow and to cause even more detrimental effects to our skin. So we see that in whiteheads, which are like those little pustules, or we see them in blackheads, which are actually the skin cells and oil trapped in your pores. So more recent research has focused on that gut and skin connection, especially for cases of acne. So the gut is full of bacteria. We've got good bacteria and we've got bad bacteria. It really is unique for every single person based on their genetics, based on their diet and their environment. And overall, we kind of have our own picture. So it's hard to say what is good and what is bad for everyone. So there are general categories though. Good gut bacteria play a role in immune regulation, in your food breakdown, in absorption of nutrients, and actually creating certain nutrients that your body doesn't make, and also prevention of pathogenic bacterial overgrowth. So products of breakdown and immune response are both good and bad. And then they travel through the porous gut lining and into your bloodstream where they can be transported all throughout the body. So this is kind of where we see that gut to skin connection. Most people are like, oh, well, I ate it, so why is it affecting my skin? But it's because everything goes through your bloodstream, gets absorbed through your gut and then passed around. So thinking of bacteria, we can kind of think of probiotics. So that's been kind of the new craze recent years. So the mechanism of probiotics is not well understood. Some are live, some are dead. People are concerned, hey, if I'm taking the live bacteria, it's just going to die in my stomach acid. But in reality, there are still different responses that your body has to those different things that you are being exposed to, so live or dead. So recent research has shown that orally consumed probiotics have been shown to reduce systemic markers of inflammation and oxidative stress by decreasing systemic inflammation. And systemic inflammation is that inflammation that's going to affect your skin. We have to remember that our skin is just a detox organ. It's the second one next to our liver. It's our biggest organ. And so things that happen in your body, you come out in your skin. So if you have inflammatory markers in your gut, they can travel through your blood to your skin and cause an immune response and trigger factors that are involved in the development of acne, which I mentioned earlier. So we're thinking that inflammation, the proliferation of skin cells, the overproduction of oil leading to the bacteria leading to infection. So there was a Russian investigation that reported that 54% of acne patients have marked alterations to their intestinal microflora. Again, that might not seem like too many because it's only over half, but we have to think about that. Everyone has unique good and bad flora. And so these people were really off. So unfortunately for our guts is that one of the most common acne treatments is oral antibiotics. It's going to kill off your gut microbiome. And if we're killing off more broad spectrum, we think about, okay, killing off those good bacteria, what's keeping the bad bacteria from overgrowing? So anything that's resistant to those antibiotics that you're taking for the acne can overgrow in your gut, cause inflammation. It's this vicious circle that we've got. So instead of killing off the bad bacteria that can cause that inflammation, we kind of want to focus more on feeding the good bacteria to crowd out the bad bacteria. So we've talked about probiotics. Now let's talk about prebiotics. So this is going to be the food for your gut. So ways to feed your good bacteria. Fermented foods. You're also going to get that good bacteria in there, but a lot of the fibers and things that are in fermented foods are prebiotics that help with the bacteria that's already in your gut as well. So we're thinking kimchi, yogurt, sauerkraut, miso, kombucha. All of them provide both pre and probiotics to replenish your good gut bacteria. All right. Another recent study involving 56 patients with acne, not the biggest sample size, but still a cool study, showed that the consumption of lactobacillus fermented dairy beverages improved clinical aspects in acne over the course of 12 weeks. So specifically, the probiotic drink consumption led to significant reductions in total lesion count and reduced sebum production. So we're thinking, okay, people tend to think, okay, dairy, like when I eat dairy, I get acne. So that is more of thinking along the lines of what's in your dairy products, but the fermented dairy doesn't seem to be causing those same issues that some people see when they have dairy. And it's because most likely the probiotics. So we kind of have different options there. There are oral encapsulated probiotics or foods with probiotic properties. Kind of get a choice there. The oral encapsulated probiotics have also been shown to have the potential to change the microbial community at sites far removed from your gastrointestinal tract. So thinking about your skin. So if we are fixing your microbiome, think about what is going on in other locations in your body as well. So for acne specifically, that's going to be crowding out the opportunistic pathogens on your skin, the ones that are eating the excess sebum, clogging your pores, causing inflammation. Probiotics or prebiotics are, in case anyone who's wondering on what specifically I'm talking about, they're undigestible fibers, so you can't digest them, but bacteria can digest them. And so those kind of make the short chain fatty acids, and these provide fuel and food for the good bacteria in your gut. So the good bacteria are using the prebiotics that you're feeding them as a food source, and they can also make byproducts from that food source, from their fermentation of the prebiotics that our cells in our gastrointestinal tract use as a fuel source. So you're kind of feeding your good bacteria, which is in turn feeding you. It's very symbiotic. Prebiotic foods specifically, some of my favorite recommendations: dandelion greens, asparagus, bananas, apples, onions, leeks, chicory, jicama. So think of those foods that you have to chew a lot because you aren't really breaking them down. You're swallowing them and you are using them to feed the good bacteria in your gut. So a couple different things there. Another thing that we see with acne is hormonal acne. So especially in teenagers and menstruating females, as your hormones fluctuate through puberty and throughout that menstrual cycle. So the gut is where many of our hormones are recycled or metabolized. So an unhealthy gut can increase or decrease hormone absorption. So we've got transit time. So if we're thinking like constipation, we're absorbing more of those hormones and not excreting them, where your body might have put them in there because they want to get rid of them. Other things like increased transit time. So like diarrhea, we're thinking you aren't getting that recirculation enough. You could have lower hormones, but basically anything that's inconsistent with what your body's normally putting out is going to be causing fluctuations in the hormones, which can affect your skin. So it has been hypothesized, I think we talked a little bit about this already, that like milk, we talked about dairy, but fermented dairy is okay. But a lot of our dairy and things like that have growth hormones. So both synthetically added, but they can also be naturally occurring, because think about like milk is going to the baby cow, it's going to the baby. So what is the like mother trying to give to the baby? But are those things that you really need in your body? So there's 3 large population studies that linked dairy consumption to acne, but none specifically made that positive correlation with the fermented dairy. So we're thinking, okay, that can still be all right for the skin. So next time your skin is breaking out, maybe it's actually your gut that's talking to you and saying that it needs some support. Thinking prebiotics, probiotics, and how are we going to regulate things to keep our hormones okay? So that's basically all of the general information that I have. I would love to open up to questions. I know I saw a few of them pop up here as I was talking. Oh, but how do I see them? Chat. Okay, what are your thoughts on A2 milk? And this is coming from Elizabeth. And Elizabeth, I'm so sorry. I do not know what specifically you mean by A2 milk. Let me see. Is this a specific brand or to?
It's
Look like
a type of cow that produces a different type of milk. They're mostly based in Europe, but it's more coming to this side of the pond. And yeah, it's I just kind of started learning about it myself recently, and yeah, I believe it's the enzymes are more easily absorbed.
Interesting. Yeah, so I guess I'm sorry I can't answer your question in full because I don't have a great idea of what A2 milk is. I have heard specifically that from patients, so not so much scientific based, this is more anecdotally based, that people have a lot easier time digesting cheeses and dairy when they are in Europe versus when they come back here, and they have a lot more issues with their gut. I don't know that much about cows, so I'm not really sure enzymatically what the difference would be. There is definitely a difference with what they put into the feed and what these cows are eating, different regulations with antibiotics and hormones for livestock in Europe versus here. So I think you are getting a lot less of that extra exposure, which can impact your gut. We think a lot about, okay, what's in our environment that you get all of these inputs, but really they can all impact your gut health. So it's really important to kind of keep on top of that and keep feeding and protecting all of your good bacteria in your gut. I think I saw another question in there. Let me get to chat. Think of pre and probiotics with SIBO. Okay, SIBO is a tough one because we think about, so in case anyone who doesn't know what SIBO is, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So we think about your colon, your large intestine, is full of bacteria. It is great to have it there. It's fermenting. It's doing all of this wonderful stuff for your body. But your small intestine, while it's not sterile, it has less bacteria, and we don't want fermentation to happen there because your small intestine doesn't have as much room to expand and to let things out like gases. So if you have bacteria that's fermenting in your small intestine, it can blow up like a balloon. And then people get really bloated, very uncomfortable. So we kind of want to prevent that infection, things that can cause that constipation, like back up into your small intestines. Tons of things. Talk about SIBO another time. But as far as prebiotics and probiotics, it really depends on the patient. So we kind of think about what type of probiotic. There are certain spore-forming probiotics that have been shown to make it past the stomach acid into the small intestine, and they actually can push out different types of bacteria. They can help with reducing biofilms, but some people still react to them. As far as prebiotics, we don't want to feed that bacteria that's in the small intestine. So we want to avoid prebiotics during the actual SIBO infection. After being treated for SIBO, you do testing, you get treatment for it. And then from that point on is when we think about, okay, what caused the backup in the first place? And how can we prevent that? And a lot of times it's going to be having healthy bacteria in that area. And then also a healthy gut with healthy bowel movements, because that's going to prevent that backup into your small intestine. I hope that answered that question a little bit. Okay. How often should you switch up probiotics, type, and brand when taking oral capsules? Again, I feel like that kind of depends on which ones you're taking. I do two different approaches with people for probiotics. If they have a specific complaint, like either skin health or some people get like bacterial vaginosis and things like that, I'll use a specific strain that has research behind it that is shown to be helpful for that condition. And then I'll usually do that for a certain period of time until we've kind of resolved that, and then go for a more broad spectrum. I really like the probiotics that kind of blend the lactobacillus and the bifido. So those are two that are easier to put into a probiotic form. There's a lot of good bacteria, but it's kind of hard to isolate them and put them into a capsule. And then for a lot of people, add one that has a Saccharomyces in it as well, which is actually a type of yeast. So as far as switching them up, not a great answer on timeline, but I too, if you don't have a specific concern, tend to go more for broad spectrum that have a lot in the blend. I hope that answered that one. Is there a general pH level for the gut? Do acidic foods affect the gut or skin? Again, that one's a tough question because it depends on the person. There isn't a general like pH that we aim for your gut. Some people have more like stomach acid and things like that. And if they don't have enough of the enzymes to break down different things, it can kind of change the pH in their gut. So I don't look more specifically at pH. It's kind of like symptom wise. So how are you reacting to certain foods? So more acidic foods, are they bothersome? Like, do you get constipation, diarrhea, anything like that? As far as the like bacteria in your gut and things like that, they produce more acid during the fermentation process. So just kind of keep thinking about that. What is the ideal environment for bacteria to be fermenting? But we don't want people to get uncomfortable either. We don't want your gut to get too acidic. So again, it kind of depends on the person, but using those more specific strains of bacteria for probiotics for certain conditions or a broad spectrum, and your body and your gut will just kind of regulate from there. Okay, next one was, let's see, can you recommend a brand for the oral probiotic? Depends on, depends on what specifically we're doing. For broad spectrum probiotics that I like to prescribe to people. It is called Orthobiotic. It's by Orthomolecular. So that's kind of my general go-to because it has a lactobacillus, a bifido, a couple different types, and then the Saccharomyces in there as well. All right, and then let's see, perioral dermatitis caused by gut imbalance. So perioral, so just right outside your mouth, can be caused by things going on with your gut. Again, it's your skin. There's a lot of things going on in this area too. So we kind of think about like the saliva and what's like the flora of your mouth. We do see a lot of connection with general like dermatitis or eczema or other skin conditions with your gut health as well. So kind of working on improving that generally and then seeing how your symptoms do would be my main advice for perioral dermatitis. Let's see, could skin rashes be caused by lack of good bacteria or enzymes? Yes, skin rashes can be caused by a million things, unfortunately. But yes, we see a lot of like atopic dermatitis, eczema, things like that coming from things going on in your gut. So potentially those inflammation markers. So any systemic inflammation can potentially cause a rash. Anything that like toxins that you're eating or things like that. Again, the skin is a detoxification organ, so could cause a rash. Lack of enzymes, you would be thinking more of like, okay, malnutrition in your gut. And so that could be preventing your skin from having a really strong protective barrier because you aren't getting enough of the nutrients that you need to make good, strong, healthy skin. So again, balancing that gut, working on getting a good, healthy gut, kind of just, it goes from the inside out. Get that good, healthy gut, and then things that you see on your skin can resolve. They might not always resolve because there can be other things playing a role, but a lot of times we see kind of the gut being the main impact. All right, that is all of the questions I see so far. Does anyone else have any more questions?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Dee. Can you hear Dee? I've
Sorry,
never done this before. Can you hear Dee?
Dee? Yes.
Oh, wonderful. I've never done this before, so I wasn't sure I was doing anything right. I have been told so many times in so many ways that if you can get like
I lost you. Dee, hello, are you
hello,
still there?
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
I've been told that you can get so much more probiotic in your body by eating it in a food way, like sauerkraut and kimchi. But so many of those things have really high sodium or use vinegar, which both things bother me. Do you know of any food source that's not used with vinegar or high salt?
The tough thing with that is the bacteria are producing that vinegar in their fermentation process. So them being alive and eating the prebiotics and things like that, like the kimchi, I believe it's cabbage. So the fermentation process is most likely making some byproducts that are bothering you. So in that case, that is when I would go to the oral, like supplemental probiotic.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, do you know of any? It's like there are ones that you read the ingredients and they put the vegetable or whatever they put into a vinegar solution, or once again they have high sodium. So do you know any or use any that they don't put into a vinegar solution in the process of fermenting?
At that point, I would go for yogurt, more of the like dairy yogurt based. If that are you, because they're added like salt or vinegar. A lot of times those are added to jumpstart that fermentation process, and then the salt a lot of times is to prevent bad bacterial bad bacterial growth. So almost preservative like. But yeah, there can be some things that are difficult.
And is there a yogurt then you recommend? Because so many yogurts are basically liquid candy. They're not really of any benefit. Is there a particular brand?
Not a particular brand that I can think of off the top of my head, but I go for Greek and plain, no sugar, nothing added in there. And if it doesn't taste that great, then I'll have people add some berries, something like that to make it a little more palatable. But just plain Greek, sugar-free, nothing else added in their yogurt.
And how much of that do you need to eat? Because I know I've read different places that, a lot say that you'd have to eat a huge amount to really make a difference.
Yeah, I would say like a cup a day would be a consistent good amount of probiotics daily. So it can a lot of yogurt to be eating every day, but you can add it to different things. You can put it in smoothies. You can plain Greek yogurt is a great substitution for sour cream or mayonnaise or things like that. It's got
and is it better to eat it all at one go, or is it better to, if I could eat like a third of a cup throughout the day, do a third of a cup and then a few hours later do another third of a cup? Is it something that would be greater benefit if you spread out the eating of it?
I think you could do either. It's more of that consistency of getting that much during the day. It might be better to spread it out if you feasibly could, because all at once you're kind of getting that high dose. But if you're doing it a few times a day, you're feeding your gut multiple times. But really, it's just if you can get it in every day, that's going to be really beneficial to your body.
So kind of like what you were saying is just have, throw a little bit on top of whatever you're eating in the meal might be the best way to go then. Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. You're welcome.
Great question. Oh, yeah. And I think we had another question in the chat box.
Let me go ahead and look on there. Okay. What's the average time to notice a difference in skin when consuming a diet with fermented foods and prebiotics? I don't have the nicest answer for you. So with skin, we expect to see things to take 3 to 6 months. It's unfortunate, but it's got to work from the inside out, and it takes time, and your skin has to get rid of all those old skin cells and make new skin cells. So it does take a few months to see results. And that can be really discouraging for some people. They'll try things for a couple weeks and they're not seeing those results yet. And so they tend to stop, but it's that consistency. You got to be consistent, keep your gut healthy, be feeding it with those prebiotics, be taking the probiotics, eating the probiotic foods, but for at least a few months to kind of see results.
Perfect. Thank you. I know for me, for a few months there, I was dealing with hives. And I finally clicked 2 and 2 together that within 30 minutes of eating gluten, I was having a reaction. So I had to completely cut it out of my diet yet again, because I was like, oh, I could have it here and there, but lo and behold, caused some skin stuff. But yeah, it's really remarkable finding what does work best and how quickly your body does thank you for making that change.
Yeah, definitely. And being in tune with your body too, and just being like mindful, like you realize 30 minutes after of eating something specific, like you made that connection. That is so great. I did see another question in there. It says, okay, with the supplements, what's the minimum dose? So I tend to dose higher for probiotics just because a lot of them, like you don't know, they say, okay, there's this many CFUs, which is colony forming units in every capsule, but they are not always living. Different variables, and then when they like measured that amount, so I tend to dose higher for probiotics because unless they're causing any like GI upset. So that's when I'll bring people back down. I tend to start people off at about like 10,000 or 10 billion, sorry, wrong unit. 10 billion CFUs every day for a while. And then if they are having any GI upset, I'll bring them down. If we're not quite controlling their symptoms, we might adjust it and raise that up. People with specific conditions, I usually can start at a higher dose, like up to like 50 billion CFUs a day, just to try to get them on track. And then I'll move people down to a maintenance dose. And again, it also depends on what strains. So I'm thinking for those ones more of my broad spectrum. There are things like the Saccharomyces that you start at lower doses. You only do like 3 billion CFUs because it's a specific yeast. And this is the therapeutic dose, things that research have shown have been beneficial for. And then as far as the probiotic foods, you can't really dose those out. We talked a little bit about the yogurt, maybe like a cup a day of that Greek plain sugar-free yogurt, but those ones are a lot harder to say how much is in each. So with those, I tend to go over, try to overestimate how much you're getting, just because I want to make sure that your gut is getting a good amount.
I have another question if you have the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, so if you take the capsule form, should you get diarrhea? Because I know, like, if you take, in my past, if I took like kimchi or if I took sauerkraut, I might get diarrhea. Once again, I don't know if it's because of the probiotic part of it or the ingredients in what they throw together for the kimchi and the sauerkraut. But should you expect diarrhea, or is that part of using a probiotic, or is that not?
Definitely not. With I don't want to ever give someone something that will give them diarrhea. Diarrhea is not normal. We don't want to have diarrhea. So that's usually when I would bring someone down, like if the dose is too high. A lot of times with those fermented foods that you're talking about, it's probably more of a sensitivity to what is in it causing the diarrhea. With the supplements, I would not expect diarrhea unless you're taking too high of a dose. And so that's when I would back people back down. If you were still getting diarrhea with any dose, that's when I would say, all right, we need to do a little more workup on what's going on with your gut. Because something in there doesn't like this probiotic and you're reacting to something. So then I'd be more concerned with other bacteria that are in your gut, like a pathogen that's reacting to it, or maybe something in the probiotic that you're allergic to or sensitive to, things like that. But we don't want diarrhea.
Well, if you eat, everyone keeps saying that, the food source is so amazing. But as I said, every time I eat it, it's like I'm having a reaction and I'm going like, well, is it the ingredients in the recipe, or am I having a problem with the probiotic part? But I should continue trying the capsules, and if I don't have any diarrhea, then it's the food. Just stay away from that.
It's process of elimination there.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, any more pop up in the chat? Doesn't look like it.
Oh, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on kombucha?
So kombucha has both bacteria and yeast in it. So it depends on the person. If you're sensitive to yeast, I would recommend going for something that's just the bacteria. But I do love kombucha for people, usually the ones without a ton of added sugar. They have to add some because that's what the bacteria and the yeast are fermenting. But looking at the ones that either have the live culture, so a few different brands, I think it's GT. I'm totally spacing on it. I can picture the label, but I can't name. I think it's GT. They actually add live bacteria after. So you're getting a little more of that probiotic. So some people might be more sensitive to that because they have that live culture in it, but you are getting a higher dose. And then other ones, they just ferment the tea and then strain out the yeast and bacteria, but you're still getting some in there. They just strain out the SCOBY. And so you are getting a really great source of probiotics with kombucha.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have another question, if I may. When you're bringing up the yeast in the kombucha, if you have candida or suspect you have candida, are probiotics something wonderful to add to the trying to combat that, or is it something you should stay away from if you suspect candida or if you have candida?
So for candida, so that is obviously a type of yeast. So we're thinking Candida albicans. It's an overgrowth. If you're having symptoms and you're sensitive to yeast, things like that, I would avoid kombucha because it has that yeast in it. I would avoid the plain yeast. It's iffy. You could do some of the more broad spectrum probiotics. So the ones that have Saccharomyces in them can potentially crowd out, because Saccharomyces is a type of yeast, but it's a different kind. It's not Candida albicans. It can crowd out that candida and can help with that. But some people are a little more sensitive to it when they do have the candida reaction, because it is a type of yeast. So your body's just kind of reacting to all yeast. So I tend to start people with candida more on like a broad spectrum bacterial probiotic and skip the yeast until we are later on in treatment. Again, you want to crowd out the bad stuff and really be populating and feeding that population of the good bacteria.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great questions tonight, folks. Don't be shy. You're welcome to enter them into the chat box while we got our lovely expert here. We're so appreciative of you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I love getting to come and spread the knowledge. It's been a weird year of not being able to tell people facts. So it's really great to have this virtual opportunity as well.
For sure. And we'd love to have you back here on our virtual platform for sure. And welcome to Federal Way Naturopathy.
Yes, thank you.
For about a year, right?
Yes, I am just coming up on my 1 year here at the clinic.
Woo! Yay! Happy anniversary.
What is neuropathy? I didn't know what that was.
Naturopathy. So I am a naturopathic physician. It is an ND. So we kind of focus more on the whole body overall health. We still go to 4 years of medical school. In Washington, we still have prescribing rights. It can be primary care physicians, but really trying to focus on getting that full picture of what is going on and finding that root underlying cause. We also have a therapeutic order. So we kind of start at the base with foundations of health. So diet, exercise, lifestyle, what can we do to start out there before moving our way up in those interventions? And then we use herbal supplements, we use dietary and nutritional supplements, kind of like here with the probiotics, before kind of going to that pharmaceutical route, and then thinking the ultimate intervention is like surgery and things like that. So we just kind of work our way up.
You actually heal people. You're doctors that actually heal people.
We focus preventative medicine versus reactive medicine. So I don't want to see people when they need to go to the ER. I want to see people when they're just starting to not feel great, or before then. I see people for the yearly exams as well. And we can focus on how to keep you healthy and how to keep you living your best life.
Oh, yay.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you're very welcome. Any other questions or anything? I don't see anything in the chat.
Oh, yay. Thank you, Carolyn. Yay. Thank you. And thank you all being here. Really super appreciate each and every one of you being here on the Zoom call. And for those folks who are watching on Facebook, we appreciate you. In the Facebook comment section, I will have our lovely Dr. Wilen contact information and how to reach her. Oh, we actually have another question. Are you taking new patients?
I am, yes. Feel free to go to our website and you can set up a patient portal to schedule an appointment, or you can call our office. But I am seeing new patients.
Are you seeing patients in person or just online?
Both. It's up to the patient. For anything that's like a physical concern, I obviously like to see people in person, and we also have the telehealth option as well.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, folks. Really appreciate each and every one of you. You have a wonderful evening, a great weekend, and lots of health and happiness to you all.
Thank you, everyone. It was great virtually talking to you.
Yes, it was such a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All of y'all take care.